of the most cherished memories I have of my mom is listening to her tell of her personal encounters with the power of prayer. As I listened to those stories over the years, I was always drawn to how her words seemed to paint a picture of God's miraculous, supernatural, wonder-working power. One of the stories that stand out in particular is one that happened as she and my father were traveling. After World War II, my father began to work in a career for American Telephone and Telegraph. And in his career, his new career, he was a lineman. And this required that he travel from city to city. Well, as they traveled, their home wasn't a typical brick and mortar home, but instead they pulled a shiny new trailer behind their car. It was hitched up to the car and it followed them wherever they went. On one of their travels into a new city, it required that they take a trip over a steep mountain grade to get to their new city that they would be living in. It had been raining, and so as they started up the mountain grade, because the road was slick, the car that was pulling the trailer had trouble getting traction on the road. And so the higher and the higher they climbed, the car had more and more trouble. As they reached the crest of the mountain, the car decided it just couldn't go any further. The tires were spinning, and so they found themselves in a very perilous situation. They couldn't go forward, and if they went backwards, it's very possible that the trailer would jackknife, and that could be fatal for my mom and my dad and their 3 young children that were traveling with them. Well, my mom, knowing the power of prayer, knew exactly what to do, and she moved into action. Her knees became planted in the floorboard of the car, and where she had been sitting, now her face was buried in that place, and she began to call out to God. And as she was praying, they felt a bump on the back of the trailer. And suddenly, the trailer began to move up over the crest of the hill and onto the other side. After they reached the other side, my father pulled the trailer over, parked the car, and said, "I have to get out, and I have to say thank you to the person who just pushed us over the mountain." But to his surprise, when he got out of the car, there was no one else around. So immediately, he and my mom knew that it was God's power. It was God's hand that bumped that trailer and pushed them over the crest of the mountain to a place of safety. In James chapter 5, verse 13, James says, if you're in trouble, pray. And so my encouragement today is, if you find yourself in a place of peril, if you find yourself in a place of trouble, call out to God in that trouble. Know that He's listening, and He will move you from that dangerous place into a place of safety. It's all in the power of prayer. Remember, God is listening.